Judges going off in court will never not be satisfying, and Camille Gomet got the wrong end of that stick.
You were relentless, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
While on trial for murdering her boyfriend, the judge let her know exactly what she did.
And then you stabbed him no less than 12 times. And you know what? I was the only one in the courtroom that knew what kind of knife that was. And it was a big old long fillet knife.
He outlined how horrific the murder was as she stabbed her boyfriend 12 times. However, the judge got a little bit too enthusiastic about the case opposite Gomet's bold statement of innocence. Eventually, the judge had enough and gave her a slightly less than court-appropriate death wish.
You put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead. So I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well.
This just goes to show you never piss off a judge, especially the next one in court, with Ebony Burks, who was already facing pretty serious domestic abuse charges that landed her a restraining order against 2 individuals, including her own grandpa, Cedric McCary.
You're charged with assault. That's a misdemeanor 1, carries a possible fine of $1,000 and or 6 months in jail. All right, Ms. Burks, on the domestic violence, I'm going to set a $7,500 cash or surety bond. That bond is conditioned of no contact with Cedric McCray.
This was less than ideal for Burks, though, given that she lived with McCrary. So she let the judge get a piece of her mind.
So you gonna tell me I can't go home?
I'm telling you, you can't go home. If you live with...
Whoa, I'm talking. I don't need you to say nothing. How you gonna tell me I can't go to my house?
I just did.
Well, I bet I do.
You never argue with a judge, though, and the judge kept giving her 90 days after 90 days of jail time for contempt.
You just said I got
Get back! That's another 30 days. That's 60 days.
So what?
90 days.
So?
120 days.
Okay, and?
180 days.
Hey, at least now she's got a place to stay for the following 300 days, even if it is surrounded by steel bars. Oh, and a piece of advice. Judges rarely care what a criminal's life is like outside of court, and Milton Watts had to find that out the hard way. Milton was in court for missing a previous court date.
You were supposed to be here last month. You did not appear. Why weren't you here?
But Mr. Busy over here had every excuse under the sun, from work to family issues. Pretty much the same excuses we used to pull for missing math class. But with math class, you didn't get contempt in court when you started voicing your thoughts a bit crudely.
That's going to cost you 30 days in the county jail for contempt.
But Milton had a whole meltdown, even going crazy over his job at McDonald's. All the swearing and offense led to Milton getting a year of contempt.
That's 90 more. That's 180. That's 306.
I'm working at McDonald's. Now I gotta come here and my life up. You!
At least he'll lose that McDonald's job he hates so much. But even a pretty girl acting all cute on trial wouldn't get on a savage judge's good side. Just ask Penelope Soto. Penelope was on trial for drug charges, and she definitely gave off that impression as she laughed at everything, twirled her hair, and treated the trial like it was the audition process for Jersey Shore.
It's not a joke, you know. We are not in a club now.
Okay, but it's
we are not in a club. Be serious about it.
I'm serious about it.
You're being very. I can see you're serious, all right.
But when she took it too unseriously, the judge gave her a high bond.
Count one would be 10,000.
Which flipped her switch from cute to monstrous, as she flipped off the judge and swore, giving her 30 days of contempt in jail.
I find you in direct criminal contempt. 30 days in the county jail.
Later, though, she only spent 5 days and apologized, with the judge canceling the other 25 days. Ray is one of those people who never knows when to be quiet, especially after the judge gave him $25,000 in bond. It's a ridiculous number for many, including Ray, who couldn't handle it, and burst out laughing at his inevitable fate.
County's requesting $25,000 full cash fine, all charges. Looks like the allegations.
This did not sit well with the judge, though. But what really didn't sit well were the threats that Ray would see the judge on the street.
Bring him in. I'm holding him in contempt.
We're not sure what the judge could give him on the street instead of in court, but at least in court, he was still rewarded with 100 days in contempt.
Sir, I'm holding you in contempt for what you
I don't
did.
really give a what you're holding me in.
And so...
You're just making it worse, man.
you. Shut up. You
All right, you can take him back. 100 days to serve.
100 days
I
to
don't
serve?
care.
Okay.
Yep.
For what?
Some criminals gain the sympathy of people because of their style or way of speaking, but Daryl Brooks got the complete opposite. After the horrific parade attack in Waukesha that killed 6 people and injured 62, the culprit, Daryl Brooks, went to trial, but he made it a living hell for anyone living there as he ran his mouth in court, interrupting judges and witnesses.
The witnesses' answers may stand.
I mean, yeah, you overrule every objection.
And overall giving very infuriating comments, such as the judge's apparently judicial misconduct.
And the jury will disregard the additional commentary made by Mr. Brooks at this time.
Judicial misconduct at its finest.
Eventually, everyone was tired of his antics, and he was removed from court to attend outside.
Mr. Brooks, you are advised to stop with the commentary.
He shouldn't worry, though. After 67 victims, he'd be lucky to get something truly meaningful.
All right, I'm going to excuse everyone. Mr. Brooks is being removed from the courtroom. He will continue in the neighboring courtroom. Please make sure he has his objection signed and a pad of paper.
Brooks' hearings were so blood-boiling that one just isn't enough. On another occasion, Brooks turned his annoying antics to the attorney and prosecution, constantly interrupting and arguing with the attorney, prompting the judge to threaten to send him outside.
Alleged record of ableist
Stop talking.
Come on, man.
One more interruption and you're going to be removed to the next courtroom.
That's what you want to do anyway.
Apparently, the prosecutor telling the truth really got on his nerves as he pounded his fist on the table before having a very creepy stare down with the judge.
All right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
At least with all this insanity, Brooks didn't have the gall to literally spit on a judge, like Bass Webb, who was in court for running over 2 officers and suspected murder of his girlfriend. The judge was conducting business as usual when she had enough of Webb, telling him that she never wants to see him again. Webb's reaction?
There's no way I want to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further second. Set preliminary hearing next week.
Webb signed his own fate with that one, as the judge made him stop and watch as she wiped off the spit and visibly planned his doom. Spit is a common theme in some trials, surprisingly, such as with Michael Gaines, who also spit in the face of 2 deputies, but Gaines got extremely defensive about it in court.
I didn't hawk up no saliva. You gonna believe a lie?
Swearing up a storm and cussing out the judge.
You gonna raise your voice at me?
Oh my God.
You raise your voice at me, I raise my voice at you. You just in a row.
The swearing got worse and worse when a witness or deputy started giving his statement, with Gaines going off like it was a Quentin Tarantino movie.
You punk.
Very well received.
Maggot mother.
And I don't think I have to take insults from
I know. You.
Telling the other guy he wishes he had died. Nobody can imagine making Judge Frank Caprio mad, but this defendant crossed the line. When this defendant was unhappy with Judge Caprio's ruling of 21 days of jail time, he turned court in Providence into law and order, as he went off on a rant, threatening Caprio that he'd be sorry when he's finished with him, and that he'd sue him.
Do it, Your Honor. Do it now. I got lawyers. That don't have nothing to do with that. That's what you call double jeopardy.
Caprio, in complete calmness, brings him back and adds the appropriate extra charges before the whole hearing turns into something straight out of a comedy movie.
Because I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you now. Double jeopardy. Double jeopardy. That's double jeopardy. Double jeopardy. Double jeopardy. That's double jeopardy. I will sue you.
How many times can one man say double jeopardy, though? Well, this man isn't the only one who intentionally made a hearing funny with his outbursts, as he joins Alan McCarty, who gets the award for the dumbest threat ever made when he literally called a courthouse to threaten the judge who ruled against him in a custody case.
All right, raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you in.
Instead of the judge coming out, they brought McCarty in, who had several hearings of absolute madness as he raised his voice.
No, I don't. This is all being done unconstitutionally, unrightfully. Y'all are you ain't allowing my evidence. You ain't allowing my people.
We haven't started the trial yet.
It doesn't matter. You still deny it.
Used racial slurs, and even refused to move as they tried to pull him outside like he was a 5-year-old at recess.
Suck my d***. No, I'm not standing.
Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting. I'm just not
Stand
standing.
up.
I'm not standing. I don't have to stand.
All this behavior earned him 10 days after his 20-year sentence, meaning those 20 years can never be shortened, as he has to serve the extra 10. Sometimes the justice system is just savage. It seems like many don't get the memo about insulting a judge, just like Brian NOVAL, who clearly didn't understand how a court works when he was in it for attempting to attack someone with a knife. But when the judge gave him his proper sentencing, NOVAL goes into complete disbelief.
All right, Suzanne Walt. Was battery. Oh, wow, I know, man.
And calls him a...
But that's the way life is. What did he say?
The judge brings him back and acts like a complete gentleman until he gives him 60 days of jail time for contempt.
Okay, hold on a second, sir. Sir, this court is inclined to hold you in contempt of court, and I want to know from you, give me a reason why I should not hold you in contempt of court.
If you look closely, though, the judge was just intending to scare him off. Until NOVAL decides to do it again and gets another real 60 this time.
I accept your apology, and I will sentence you to 60 days in the Broward County Jail. Thank you.
Can I take the back in?
All right, sir, hold it. Come on back. Come on back, sir. Sir, you have nothing. I'm going to sentence you to another 60 days to run consecutive to the prior 60 days.
The funniest thing about the whole deal is how NOVAL was shocked that the judge could do that, prompting someone to point out that the fact that this is indeed a judge.
I didn't know you can do that.
All right, thank you.
At least NOVAL took his contempt like a champ, unlike a certain Karen. When this Karen was threatened with contempt for swearing, she made sure the judge knew she doesn't care.
Nothing to do with
Miss Hardwick, you will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
Naturally, the judge did give her 10 days for contempt.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
So, the Karen does the unthinkable and launches herself at the judge to attack. The look of disgust on the judge's face is purely priceless. While this judge's disgust was quiet, this next one made sure the defendant knew it. There's nothing quite like a good schooling, and this law student defendant made the mistake of a lifetime when he tried to argue with a seasoned veteran who taught at his own law school.
This is standard practice, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Paulino, you're dead wrong.
What set the judge off, however, was when this student told her her ruling was just her opinion, and she just commenced to absolutely destroy him.
You're dead wrong.
That's your opinion.
No, that's my ruling, pal. And let me tell you something, Mr. University of Miami Law School. I taught at UM for many, many years, and you right now are embarrassing us. You do not show that kind of disrespect, okay? If you don't like what the judge is doing, then you take it to the next forum. But you do not sit here and say that's your opinion like a baby.
On the other hand of the culture spectrum is Tobias Roman, or Giggles, as he apparently likes to be called.
Tobias is my first name, that's it. Giggles or Tobias, that's it. Don't call me nothing else.
To no one's surprise, Roman was in court for stalking a woman, and his mere appearance makes him a walking cautionary tale as he awkwardly introduces himself, and we see his messed up tattoos, taped glasses, and sagging pants. You could almost pity Roman until he threatens to kill the judge, and he gets taken outside.
I'd like to note for the record, Mr. Roman's statement on the record that he will murder me if he sees me, and I'm going to request law enforcement to take the appropriate action.
You can only imagine what happens to people like Roman in prison. What's worse than a stalker, though? A Karen. This Karen was trying to have a case against, apparently, a stalking case, trying to sanction someone, but her thesaurus vocabulary couldn't save her from the judge's fury in court.
And the purpose of the sanctions are based on what?
It was a frivolous and vexatious PPO based on nonsense.
Who refused to have her time wasted on a woman who just wanted a judge to punish someone for no reason.
I have a constitutional right to be heard.
And then she continued giving Karen moment after Karen moment until the judge had had enough and had her pay $500 in sanctions.
On what basis? There is no case before me, ma'am, other than the fact that you filed this frivolous motion taking up this court's time for no good reason other than your own personal vendetta against this man for whatever reason you may have, and I really don't care because it does not involve me or my court. Your relief is denied, and in addition to that, I am sanctioning you with costs of $500 forthwith to the county clerk's office.
Even her exit line was classic Karen, until you find out that the man she was trying to have a case against might have been a fraud who had her house taken from her. It really puts things in perspective, eh?
I highly suggest that you just exit my courtroom and go pay the sanctions before I find you in contempt.
Now, where do I go?
While this woman might have been forgivable, Donna Cosal definitely wasn't. When Donna Cosal's daughter's drunk driving led to the death of Jerome Zerka and an injured woman, the entire family was in court. But while the daughter was clearly in distress, her mother, Donna Cosal, started laughing at the victim's family, setting the judge off on her for over a minute.
Because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. So leave.
By the end of the judge's demolishing, Cosal got herself over 90 days in jail for contempt. Maybe she won't be laughing there.
Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt.
Laughing at a victim's family should never be acceptable. Someone needed to tell that to Danta Wright. Danta Wright was involved in the murder of a teenager, Jordan Klee, during a robbery, and Klee's family in court tugged on the heartstrings of even the most ruthless of people. But Wright proved that he didn't have a heart, as he smirked and smiled at Klee's mum as she gave her statement.
Jordan can no longer choose to go to college. Jordan can no longer choose to change. Jordan can no longer make a difference. Jordan can no longer fall in love or have a family.
But justice does exist in this world, and the judge threatened Wright to take away his plea deal, which would grant him a much rougher punishment.
But watching you sit there, smile, and laugh, and shake your head like this was no big deal, I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there.
That was enough to wipe the smirk off of Wright's face. A judge going off on a defendant is sometimes just a sight to behold. Like the Burger King lady. When this restaurant owner refused to take an oath in court, you know, the way you're supposed to, the judge simply let her have it, pointing out a very important fact that a courtroom isn't a Burger King.
Ma'am, stop. I know you want to control this room, but this isn't Burger King. When the sign changes to Burger King, you can have it your way. Right now, this is my courtroom.
But when she continued to piss off the judge, she got 93 days in jail for contempt. What kind of insanity happens at Burger King? We may never know.